They canceled and got rid of the R6 for that? Okay. Alright, you ready for this? You ready for this? Here we go. What's going on, everybody? It's Jay. Welcome back to the channel. So, yesterday, me and my buddy were talking about how Yamaha canceled the R6. And, well, not really canceled it. They still sell it, but, you know, track only, yada, yada, yada. If you keep up with general news in the motorcycling world, if you will, you're already aware of this. This is not new news. Now, that being said, Yamaha has started talking about the concept and the introduction, if you will, of an R7. And some people are really upset about this, and I don't really understand why. Now, I understand from what I've read, at least, it is not going to be a super sport. They are putting the engine from this motorcycle, which is a phenomenal engine, into a sport bike body for the R7. And I think that's a phenomenal idea. You know, there's a few competitors out there. You have the CBR 650R, the Ninja 650, the new Aprilia RS 660, which, you know, it's not like a huge amount of competitors. There's not like 20 million bikes out there that they'd be competing with, but there's a few out there, and they're all very different in their own way. Now, like I said, personally, I think this is a great idea, and I really think Yamaha is making some big moves doing this right now, because you got people out there that they like the ergonomics, the feel, the ride, the torque, the overall experience of being on a naked bike. And then a lot of those people also like the look of a super sport, you know, a sport bike and stuff like that. And that being said, you know, you can't always get both together and it still be a good bike. You know, people love the R6, you know, it looks phenomenal, great looking bike, but it's so uncomfortable. You know, you can't spend all day on that. And from what I've got from the R7 is that it's gonna look like the R6, you know. I saw a picture of it earlier, I'll put that right here, and I think it looks really good. You know, this obviously isn't an official release to my knowledge. If it is, I'll make sure to annotate it on there, but what I'm seeing, it looks really good. And the promise I see in this is that it's a really good looking bike. It has a great engine. You know, it's not an inline four, it's not a super sport, so you can't compare it with those kind of machines, but it's gonna be comfortable. It's for that person that loves the look of a super sport, but they want to be comfortable. You know, they're not going out racing, doing all this nonsense. I mean, if you go to the track a lot, a super sport makes sense, but if you're like an average guy that maybe goes to the track a few times a year, why would you get a bike that's so set and like ready for the track at all times? It doesn't make sense, you know. You got to get a bike that it's not only what you want, but, you know, like fits what you need. And I found that that's kind of like the best way to go about it. Get something that works really good for you and that you love, and then boom, you know, you're just gonna be set if you can do that. Now, with all that in mind, I think that would be a really good idea for something like the R7, you know, an everyday sport bike, if you will, that you can use all the time, still has a good amount of power. If they're using, well, it's official, they are going to be using the engine from this bike, that's for sure. But if they could tweak it a little bit, obviously I'm not like an engineer or anything like that, but, you know, maybe they could retune it, make a few changes, bump up the horsepower, keep the torque relatively close to the same thing. I think it would be a really good competitor, especially when you start looking into like racing and stuff like that. It's going to be a pretty solid bike. Yamaha doesn't put out crap, so I think it'll be a really good idea. You know, when you start looking at other 650-ish class sport bikes in that category, you got the Ninja 650, and if Yamaha goes through and actually does this R7 like they're talking about doing, I'm 99% sure, guys, this thing is just going to annihilate the Ninja 650. Sound, performance, torque, just everything about it, I'm sure that they're going to just destroy the Ninja 650. Compare it to the CBR 650R. I feel like that would be a good comparison. Now the CBR at the same time, that's an inline 4, so it's also going to make its horsepower a little bit differently. If the R7's making power like this does, you know, hopefully they just bump it up a little bit. It'll probably be close to that 90 to 100-ish horsepower that the CBR is putting down. So I think that'd be a really close fight right there, but, you know, we just got to wait and see what happens. The big challenger, in my opinion, is the new guy on the block, and that's going to be the Aprilia. I have heard so many good things about the Aprilia. You know, it's coming in and it is just slapping everybody. It's got the 270-degree crank just like this one does. Sounds phenomenal. A little parallel twin, and it's putting down 90 to 100, somewhere in like the CBR range. But you know, the technology on that bike, oh my gosh. It's got like cruise control, traction control, this control. Like, it's got everything you could possibly want. Now, do you need all that stuff and with a bike at that like power point? You know, I don't really think so. But that's just me thinking that. It's kind of cool to have it, just to say you have it, but at the same time, for that kind of bike, you are paying a premium for all that stuff. You know, you're getting more than the Ninja and the CBR, but you're also paying a decent bit more than you would be for the Ninja or the CBR. But that's just something you have to take into account when you're looking at bikes like this, you know. Obviously, they have their differences, and price is one of the differences. That guy almost just hit him. Now, the argument that my friend was making is like, oh, they got rid of the R6 to replace it with the R7. It's not even going to get close in power. It's not a super sport, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, I'm not really looking at it as a replacement. First of all, they still have the R6. It's not gone. It's there. It's just a more specific kind of bike now. But I don't really necessarily look at the R7 as replacing the R6. It's a completely new bike, so to say. It's a weird baby between this and that. But it's not replacing anything. It's just adding to. And I feel since Yamaha put the name R7, they're getting a decent bit of backlash on it. You know, everything I've seen, it's really like a 50-50 kind of split on, it's either you like it or you hate it. I'm a fan. I like it. I think it looks good. If they had named it like the MT-07R, I feel like they would have gotten a better response personally. You know, since they're trying to get into the R family, everyone's getting all riled up about it. But MT-07R, I don't think they would have gotten nearly as much backlash or arguments with the bike, because it doesn't sound like it's coming after the R6 after they just canceled it, you know. But, you know, in the end, time's gonna tell. Guys, I'm really excited for Yamaha to release more information about the R7. I want to know more about it. I'm gonna go right. You know, it's a really interesting category for me. I mean, I have the engine that's going to be going into that bike, so I'm really curious how that's going to handle in a, you know, like a super sport kind of body. I'd really like to see whether or not they're going to make a new chassis specifically for this bike. Are they gonna like pull from this one or pull from the R6? There's just a lot of unknown variables right now. It's a relatively new idea or concept, so not all that much information is out right now, but I'm really excited for more to come out. Whenever it does come out finally and more stuff's released, I personally think the RS660, the Aprilia, I think that's going to be its biggest competitor, hands down. The engine's almost identical. You know, they're very, very similar. Price point, that's going to be a tough one. It depends what Yamaha does with it. If they're going to keep it close to an R6 price, around that $12-ish thousand range. Who has sheep in their front yard? Okay. But if they're going to keep it in that price point, you know, guys, I really don't know if that's a good idea. If they are, they need to be putting some technology in this thing to get it close to the Aprilia, because the Aprilia is setting a bar really high right now with what they're putting out. And, you know, that's great for them, but it makes it complicated for everyone else. So if they keep the price lower, I can see them not putting as much goodies, if you will, into it. But if they're gonna jump that price up and keep it close to the R6, guys, they have to add something. I don't know what. Maybe they'll add cruise control or, you know, like fancy stuff like the Aprilia has. But they have to put something in there to keep it going. Overall, I think it's gonna be a good idea. I think it's gonna perform well. I see a customer base out there. You know, people that want that super sport look, they want to be comfortable, they want to ride the bike every day, they're not willing to like compromise on ergonomics and everything. I see the community. I see it because I'm in it, especially with people that only have one bike. Not everyone can afford more than one, you know, so we'll see what happens. But guys, that is going to actually wrap everything up for today. I'm curious, let me know what you think about the R7 down in the comments. Do you think it's stupid? Do you think it's a great idea? Who do you think is going to compete with the most? No, just general questions. Give me your input, give me your ideas and opinions on the R7 and how you think it's gonna do. But like I said, that is gonna wrap everything up for today, guys. I've got some pretty exciting stuff coming out soon. Got a cool little video I'm gonna be filming in a couple days. Really excited to do that. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see more. If you like the video, drop a like. Ring that notification bell so you know whenever I upload something new. And other than that, guys, I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
Across the pavement, hoping it'll